Hi guys, in this video we're going to go over the SumIf function. Before we do that, go to excelvbasql.com. You could watch almost 30 hours of free video lessons. It will teach you everything you need to know from the beginner level in Excel all the way to the advanced and writing macros. Put your email in here and you could receive an email when free videos go up. Okay, so let's get started. In the last video we looked at the sum function. And if you don't know the sum function, you should go watch that video. But what we did is, all we did was sum column k, k colon k, which just means take column k and sum all the numbers in there. Okay, so that works great. Now what we're going to talk about is a SumIf function. So I'm going to put here SumIf. So in this sum function, what we did is calculate our total employee expense, or actually we just summed up the salary column, so this is just the total employee salary. So column K contains the salaries, and we just summed up all the salaries. What if we want the salaries greater than 200K, $200,000? So we want to sum that. We want to know how much are we paying to people who have salaries over 200,000. That's what the SumIf function does. So what I'm going to do is go down here on this tab, and we're going to walk through it first, and then I'll come back here and we'll enter that value, the sum of salaries over 200K. So what I can do is go to this math functions tab, and on this tab we did the sum function. So I'm actually going to rename this sum function. And I'm just gonna do this. Actually, I'll just do a new tab, and I'm gonna name this SumIf. Okay, so now we can start. So let's say you have a list of values like, I don't know, home runs, and you have, this guy. We don't even need to have a name, but we just have a column with some numbers in it, like 45, 50, 10, 30, 20, 80. I mean, that guy had a great year. These are home runs for baseball. Now, this column can go on and on, but what we want to do here is sum if the home runs were greater than 55. So what we want to do, what this SumIf function does, it allows you to enter one criteria. That's key. So what you need to know about the SumIf is you can only enter one criteria. And what do I mean criteria? I mean this. If you want to write the SumIf function, you write SumIf, and then you do open parentheses, and you can see here we have three parameters. Now this one, the third one is optional, but we'll just start here with these first two. So what is this first parameter range? Well, that parameter says what range do you want to sum, and we'll put in our range, A2 to A7. So here's our range, A2 to A7. And then what's our criteria? Well, our criteria is greater than 55. But with the SumIf function, you have to surround this with double quotation marks. Okay? So what are we doing here? This is a SumIf function. That's it. We close the parentheses and we wrote our function. What is it doing? It's saying, look at this range, A2 to A7, and sum everything, sum everything according to this criteria, where the criteria is in quotation marks. So our criteria is greater than 55. So if I hit enter, I get 80. Now, why do I get 80? Well, because the only number in this range that is greater than 55 is 80 here. If I change this number to 60, then I get 140 up here, because now 60 is greater than 55. What if I put 55 in here? Then I get 80 again. Well, I get 80 because I don't have an equal sign here. So I could change this to equals, so I could say greater than or equal to 55. And now when it looks in this range, It's going to sum everything greater than or equal to 55. So it'll sum this number, 55, and 80. And if I hit enter, I get 135. So that is the SumIf function. On a very basic level, you enter a range, you enter a criteria, and it sums the range according to the criteria. Now, we saw when we were entering this that there's another parameter here. So if you only have a list of values and a criteria, then you would do it like this. But what if you have something like this? So I'll highlight this as one example. I'm just going to highlight this yellow, and now I'll do something else. Car. What should we do? We'll do state. No, we'll do country. So now, what if we have this? What if we have, a couple people that live in the U.S., or let's say this could be population. No, we'll do. Let's see. What should we do? Yeah, let's just do country. So let's say I have some data here. Let's say I have some data here, and for these 3 countries, I just have some numbers associated with them, like 9,000, 5,000, 4,000, 2,000, 400, and 6,000. So what if we have this? Now I have, instead of having just one column of values, I have a column that's called country, and then I have the values associated with that country. So what we can do now is we can sum if in France. So we can do a SumIf function again that will sum all these values in this column based on the other column here, France, the country column. And that's what the third parameter is for. So I'll show you that right now. So we could do this. When you do the function, you write SumIf, open parentheses, and then this range, you pass in the first column, the country column. And what's your criteria? Well, the criteria is going to be this range is equal to France. And then what is your sum range? Well, my sum range is going to be this column. So notice what we're doing now. In the original one, we didn't have this third parameter, this sum range here. Because when you don't have that, it automatically assumes that whatever column you pass in, that's what the criteria applies to. When you have 2 ranges, it looks at the first range and it applies the criteria, but it sums the second range based on that criteria. So it's slightly different, but it's very easy to understand. So if we hit enter here, I get 6,000, and that 6,000 is because here's my 2 Frances. 4,000 plus 2,000 equals 6,000. Remember what it's doing. It's looking at the blue range, D2 to D7, and saying, if it equals France, I'm going to sum the green range, E2 to E7. So if I change this to 50,000, then this changes to 52,000 because it's summing these 2 ranges. If I change this to 0, then I get 2,000. So this is another example of how to use the SumIf function with multiple columns, 2 columns. You can do it with 1 column like this, where you just provide 1 range of data and it applies the criteria and the summing to that 1 column. Or you could do it with 2 columns like this, and it applies the criteria to 1 column and sums another column. But notice when it sums, it's going to sum the value that aligns with the value in the first range, right? So it sums this value here, 0 to France and 2,000 to France, right? What I mean by that, let me make this a different color. It's kind of hard to see. What I mean by that is it looks at this column and it looks directly across from it in the other column. Now these columns don't have to be together. I could insert another column here and nothing, it doesn't matter. So they don't have to be adjacent to each other. That doesn't mean anything, so I'm going to delete that. One more thing I'd like to show you is you could do something like this. Instead of your criteria being in quotation marks, you can just do something like this. You could say 45. Now what is this going to do? It's going to say, this is going to mean the range. It's going to look at the range and say it has to be equal to 45. So if I hit enter, it sums up 45. Now watch this. If I put 45 in here, it does 90 and another 45, 135. So if you don't put it in parentheses, the criteria, like this, it assumes that you want an equivalent, you're using a equality there. So if you just put a number in, it's saying, okay, I'm going to sum all the numbers in that range that are equal to 45. So if you put all 45s in, it's just summing every single number in this range because they're all equal to 45. So that's what it's equivalent to doing this, basically. So you could do it like that, equal 45, or you could just do it like this. Most times you use this SumIf stuff with greater than or equal to, and then you get things like that, because nothing in this range is greater than 45. So now I just put 50 in, so it is. So let me just put some more dummy data in here. Okay, so we've looked at a few things here. You can also do something like this. Watch this. So I could put a value in here like 70, and you could do something like this. Let's say you want to sum this range, any number in this range that's greater than this value in this cell. Well, you could do that by just doing this. So I put the greater than sign in quotation marks, and then I put an ampersand, and then I put B1. And then if I hit enter, I get 1076. So let me bring this down here. I'll put 0, 0, 0. So notice what it's doing, right? What is this SumIf doing? It's looking at this range again, and it's applying a criteria. But now my criteria is kind of different because I'm using a cell reference right here. B1 is a cell reference, and I'm appending the cell reference to this greater than sign. So you could do a criteria like that. So it's really flexible. It allows you to do a lot of different things. If you have a number off on some other area of your worksheet and you want to sum a range greater than that number, you can do it, and you could do it just like this. Okay, so we looked at that. Let's see. You can also do something like this. Let's say we have our SumIf function again, and over here, let's say I don't have a value in this one, so I'm going to delete that. What if you want to sum all the values in this column that don't have a value over here? So you would do that by just doing this. Just go like this. Two quotation marks with nothing in between. You hit enter, and this 8,000 is coming from this number right here, and that's because it's looking at the blue range and saying if it's blank, then sum the value in the green range. So it's blank here, right here, and it sums this value. So if I put 900 here, I get 900 there. Okay, so that's the SumIf function. Notice you can use only numbers. You can use text for your criteria. So here, actually here we're using just a greater than sign and a cell reference. So there's a lot of different ways, but now you see the flexibility with it. But the main point is all you're doing is taking a column of values and you are summing it based on a criteria. That's all you're doing. And the criteria and the sum range, they can be the same range like this with just one column, and you could SumIf on that, or you could have two columns and you could SumIf on that. So we've seen a lot of different things we could do with the SumIf. Okay, so now let's look at a real world example. Actually, before we get to that, I should tell you, if you're not familiar with this, what are the most useful ones? What are the most used ones in the real world? It's usually not this. So usually it's going to be a greater than something. So greater than 1,000 or 10,000. So that's you probably. Oh, I did this wrong because I needed to put that in a quotation mark. Let's see. D3 to D8. Let's put France back in here. So one thing to notice here is that if you put, let's see, so my SumIf isn't working here, and I'm going to go through that right now. So do you see what I'm doing wrong here? Notice what I was trying to do here. I was trying to I got confused here. I was trying to put a numeric value here, right? I was thinking, why isn't this working? I put greater than 10,000. Why am I getting 0 here? Sorry, I've had a brain freeze, kind of a long day. But what I did was I'm applying this criteria to this range, and I cannot apply numeric criteria to this range of text, right? If notice this, that's my problem. That's why this is 0, because this range here, the blue range, D3 to D8, is all text. And this is what you have to remember. This criteria always applies to this range. And let me ask you a question. Is there any cell in this range that is greater than 10,000? The answer is no. That's why I'm getting 0. So if you already knew that, good for you because you caught that. I just had a brain freeze right there. So what can I do here to show you again what this is about? Let's say I put 11,000 here. Then I get 900, right? So what I was doing was thinking this criteria applied to the green column, but it doesn't. So be very careful. Actually, just don't have a brain freeze like me, and you will be just fine. So let me put this back to what it should be. Because the blue range is text, it contains countries, I need to put a criteria that makes sense. So I put France in there, and I get 2,900 because it sums those two. Okay, sorry for that, but that's a good real-world example that might happen to you. Sorry about the brain freeze. Okay, so let's move on. We're almost done with the video. Now let's do a real-world example. You work at some company. You have all this data with customers and employees, and over here you have this salary column with a list of salaries for people who work at your company or something, and you want to find out, as part of your daily work, you want to know how much are we paying to people who earn over 200,000? So to do that, all you need to do is do something like this, equals SumIf, and then what range do you want to put in? Well, I want to use this whole column, KK, and then I'm just going to put my criteria over here. It's going to be greater than 200, 1, 2, 3, 200,000. And I could just close the parentheses, hit enter, and here's my answer. Let me make this font a little bigger. Actually, okay, so here's our answer. It looks like we're paying a lot of money. I'll go up here to the number, format this as a number. So we're paying $21 million to people who earn over 200,000 in our company. Let me just highlight this cell here and merge it so you can see that the mathematical functions that we've looked at already are the sum and the SumIf. Let's do one more thing. Let's also sum the salaries in at Apple. No, at who are married. So now you want to look at these people and you want to sum all the salaries, but you want to look at this married column here, this marital status. So let's do that. So we're going to do equals SumIf, and we're going to look at the range, this marital status range, and what's our criteria? Equals married. And then what range do you want to sum? So there's my criteria. Remember to put it in the quotation marks. And then what range do you want to sum? Well, you want to sum the salary column. And you could just close that. And if you hit enter, you get an answer here. And you get 9,199,674. So these are real world examples that in a matter of seconds you can go into this big data set with all kinds of information, and in a matter of seconds you could do a lot of filtering real quick and get a bunch of answers like how much are we paying over 200,000 in salary? Well, you could do that right here in that sum here. Right here. You would use SumIf to do that. You could also very easily say, how much are we paying to married people? Well, you could do that right here by doing this, SumIf like that. Those are very real-world examples that you will see on the job, or you will need to know if you want to be good at Excel, because you need to be able to very quickly look at data and summarize it. And with the SumIf function, it makes it real easy to do that. So in summary, what does the SumIf function do? It allows you to enter one criteria, only one, remember, only one criteria, and it allows you to look at a range, apply that criteria to it, and sum it up. Very simple, very straightforward, and there it is. So we've looked at the sum function and the SumIf function. Now if you need help, you can Google the SumIf function. There's a whole bunch of help out there. Or you can go in here to the Formulas tab and go down to the SumIf function, and you could click on this Help on this function, and a website will pop up with a whole bunch of information on it about the function. Or you can just watch this video again or write an email to us. So that's it for this video. Remember, go to excelvbasequel.com. I post this file here. If you're not good with Excel, I really recommend you to get this file, because what we're doing, I'm going to unhide these columns, is we're going through all these functions. Look at, we're going through all the logical functions, and then we're going through the mathematical functions. We're going to do that for all the functions So if you're not good with Excel, this file will be a go-to file for you because it'll show you how to use every single function. Well, actually not every single one, but 90% of the functions that'll get you to an expert level. You'll be able to use them and see them and know what they mean. So I take this file and I post it on excelvbasequel.com. You could register and you could download it, or you can just watch all the videos here for free. Put your email in here and sign up and get an email when new videos go up. Contact me if you have any questions. Until the next video, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.